The Imperial scout ship hung silently in the dark space behind Earth's moon, its advanced cloaking systems making it invisible to most conventional detection methods. Captain Mark Thompson of the International Space Defense Force stared at the anomalous readings on his screen aboard the orbital station. Something was out there, and this time, they had proof. "Sir, we're picking up unusual energy signatures again," reported Lieutenant Tom Wilson, his eyes fixed on the monitoring equipment. "Same pattern as last week." Thompson nodded slowly. For 3 months, they had been tracking these mysterious signals. The world's governments had kept it quiet to prevent panic, but everyone in the Defense Force knew Earth was being watched. In the White House Situation Room, General David Walker presented the latest findings to world leaders connected via secure video conference. "Ladies and gentlemen, we now have concrete evidence of advanced alien vessels in our solar system. They're studying us, analyzing our capabilities." The Chinese president leaned forward in his screen. "And they think we cannot see them." Walker allowed himself a small smile. "That's correct, Mr. President. Our quantum detection grid, the one we developed in secret 5 years ago, is picking up everything. They don't know we can track their movements." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had prepared for this moment for decades, building hidden defenses and developing technologies that remained secret from the public eye. 3 days later, it happened. A massive ship, nearly 2 miles long, appeared in orbit around Earth. This time, they weren't hiding. The vessel's design was elegant but clearly built for war, with weapon ports visible along its hull. Global Communications received a transmission in multiple languages. The message was simple: "We are the Galactic Empire. Your world has been discovered. Prepare to receive our ambassador. Resistance is inadvisable." The United Earth Defense Council convened immediately. Representatives from every nation gathered in the underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps. The debate was heated but brief. They had planned for this scenario. Admiral James Miller stood before the council, his weathered face showing no fear. "Let them come," he said firmly. "We'll play this exactly as planned. Let them think they're in control." The Imperial ambassador arrived in a smaller vessel, landing at the designated site in neutral territory, a specially prepared facility in New Zealand. The alien, tall and humanoid with silvery skin, carried himself with obvious superiority. His name was untranslatable in human languages, so he allowed them to call him Ambassador. "Your world is now known to the Empire," the ambassador announced to the assembled human delegation. "We rule 10,000 worlds across this galaxy. You will submit to Imperial authority and begin paying tribute immediately." Admiral Miller stepped forward. He was chosen not just for his military experience, but for his deep knowledge of human history. "Ambassador, before you make demands, we feel it's our duty to warn you about something." The ambassador's expression showed curiosity mixed with amusement. "Warn us? How interesting. What could primitives like you possibly warn the Empire about?" Miller gestured to a large screen behind him. "About us. About humans." He pressed a button, and images began to play, carefully selected scenes from Earth's military history. "You see, Ambassador, we noticed you studying us. But you only saw our public face. You didn't see what we're capable of when threatened." Miller's voice remained calm, almost sympathetic. "We've spent our entire history fighting ourselves, perfecting the art of war in ways you might not understand." The ambassador waved his hand dismissively. "Every species has conflicts in their primitive phase. The Empire has ended such barbarism across the galaxy." With respect, Miller continued, "You've never faced humans before. We're not like your other conquered worlds. We're different, and if you force this conflict, you'll learn that difference the hard way." The ambassador's translator must have conveyed the tone perfectly because his silver face showed the first hint of uncertainty. But it passed quickly, replaced by diplomatic smoothness. "Are you threatening the Empire, Admiral Miller?" Miller shook his head slowly. "No, Ambassador. We're warning you. There's a difference. We don't want war. But if you start one—" He paused, looking directly into the alien's eyes. "You should run." The meeting ended shortly after, with the ambassador returning to his ship, visibly unsettled but maintaining his imperial dignity. As Miller watched the vessel ascend, Lieutenant Wilson stood beside him. "Do you think they'll listen, sir?" Miller's expression was grim. "No, they won't. But we tried to warn them. Whatever happens next is on them." Above Earth, the Imperial ship prepared to report back to the Empire. They had no way of knowing that humanity's warning was far more serious than they could imagine. The Imperial flagship's conference room gleamed with polished metal and advanced holographic displays. The ambassador stood before his superiors, projecting confidence despite his inner unease about the humans' warning. "These humans are primitive but unusually bold," he reported to the Imperial Command Council. "They actually attempted to warn us against military action." Grand Admiral Rex, a veteran of 1,000 conquests, laughed. "Warn us? How charmingly primitive. Show us their supposed warning." The ambassador activated the recorded meeting. The human Admiral Miller's words echoed through the chamber, followed by the historical footage he had presented. Scenes of human warfare played out in stark detail: ancient battles, modern conflicts, and carefully selected demonstrations of Earth's military capabilities. On the Imperial command ship, Rex's laughter died as he watched. Something about these humans was different. They didn't fight like other species. Their tactics were unpredictable, their weapons designed not just to win, but to utterly destroy their enemies. Back on Earth, Admiral Miller prepared for his second meeting with the Empire. This time, he had been summoned to their ship. As his shuttle approached the massive Imperial vessel, he carried with him humanity's last attempt at preventing war. The Imperial reception chamber was designed to intimidate, with towering ceilings and guards in gleaming armor. Grand Admiral Rex sat on an elevated platform, looking down at Miller. "Your warning has amused us, human," Rex announced. "But you should understand, the Empire does not take kindly to threats." Miller shook his head. "You still think this is a threat? Let me show you something else." He pulled out a small device and activated it. A hologram appeared, showing Earth's true military capabilities, the ones they had kept hidden. "These are our orbital defense platforms, disguised as communication satellites. Here are our quantum-shielded bunkers. These are our fleet of stealth ships." Miller's voice remained steady. "We've been preparing for extraterrestrial contact for over a century." Rex leaned forward, his interest finally piqued. "Impressive deception. But the Empire has conquered worlds far more advanced than yours." "With respect, sir, you're missing the point," Miller continued. "Look at how we fight. We don't just defeat enemies. We study them, adapt to them, become better than them at their own strategies. Humanity doesn't just win wars. We evolve through them." He showed more footage: military exercises, advanced weapon tests, spacecraft maneuvers that the Empire's observers had never detected. "We spotted your scout ships months ago. We let you watch us because we wanted to avoid this conflict. But if you force this war—" Rex raised his hand, cutting Miller off. "You speak of war as if you understand it. The Empire has brought peace to the galaxy through superior force. Your primitive species cannot possibly. We understand war better than you know." Miller interrupted, breaking diplomatic protocol. "You bring peace through overwhelming force. We've learned to win even when outgunned, outmanned, and surrounded. It's in our nature." The human admiral's words carried weight that even the prideful Imperial leaders couldn't completely ignore. Something in his tone, in the evidence he presented, suggested that these humans might actually be different from other conquered species. "Let me be clear," Miller said, his voice now carrying an edge of steel. "We don't want to fight you. We'd rather be allies. But if you attack Earth, you'll learn why our history is filled with tales of mighty empires that fell to smaller, more determined forces." Rex stood, his patience wearing thin. "You dare suggest the Empire could fall to your primitive world?" "No," Miller replied calmly. "I'm trying to prevent that from happening. Because once we start fighting, we won't stop until we win. It's what humans do. We've spent thousands of years perfecting the art of warfare against ourselves. Imagine what we'll do when we have a common enemy." The meeting ended in tense silence. As Miller's shuttle returned to Earth, emergency signals flashed across Imperial command channels. The Empire had made its decision. Lieutenant Wilson met Miller as he landed. "How did it go, sir?" Miller looked up at the sky, where Imperial ships were already beginning to gather. "They're going to attack. They just don't understand yet." "Understand what, sir?" "That we weren't making threats or boasting." Miller turned to head to the command center. "We were trying to save them from themselves." Above Earth, the Imperial fleet began to assemble. The war they thought would be easy was about to teach them the hardest lesson of their existence. The Imperial fleet appeared near Mars, 50 warships strong. To them, it was a small disciplinary force, meant to teach Earth a quick lesson in obedience. Grand Admiral Rex watched from his command ship, expecting the humans to surrender at the mere sight of Imperial might. "Launch the first wave," Rex ordered. "Show them what real power looks like." 10 Imperial cruisers moved forward, their weapons charging. On Earth's defense platforms, Lieutenant Wilson watched the enemy approach. "They're coming in exactly as predicted, sir." Admiral Miller nodded. "Let them get closer. Wait for my signal." The Imperial ships crossed the orbit of Mars, their sensors detecting no resistance. Rex smiled. These humans, for all their bold talk, were proving to be like all the others, helpless before Imperial technology. "Sir," an Imperial officer called out, "we're detecting no defensive measures. Their orbital stations appear to be simple communication satellites." Rex nodded, satisfied. "Begin the demonstration strike. Target their largest military installation." Just as the Imperial ships prepared to fire, everything changed. The communication satellites transformed, panels sliding away to reveal weapon systems far more advanced than anything the Empire had detected. Hundreds of smaller ships emerged from hidden bases on Mars and the Moon. Miller's voice crackled across all frequencies. "Now you'll understand why we warned you. All units, execute Pattern Alpha." The human fleet moved with devastating precision. Instead of meeting the Imperial ships head-on, they broke into smaller groups, attacking from multiple angles. Their weapons, hybrid systems combining technologies the Empire had never seen before, sliced through Imperial shields like they weren't even there. "Impossible," Rex shouted as the first Imperial cruisers exploded. "Their weapons, they're using quantum phase technology. How do these primitives have quantum phase weapons?" The human ships darted between the Imperial vessels, their smaller size and superior maneuverability making them nearly impossible to hit. Each strike was precisely calculated, targeting weak points that the Empire didn't even know their ships had. In Earth's command center, Miller watched the battle unfold. "Deploy the Mars defense grid," he ordered. Hidden facilities on the red planet activated, launching swarms of automated drones. The Imperial fleet found itself caught in a three-dimensional web of attackers, unable to establish a coherent defense. "Sir," Wilson reported, "the enemy is attempting to regroup near Deimos." "Just as expected," Miller replied. "Execute Pattern Beta." The human fleet suddenly pulled back, appearing to retreat. The Imperial ships followed, falling right into the trap. Quantum mines, planted weeks ago, detonated in sequence, creating a cascade of explosions that ripped through the Imperial formation. On his flagship, Rex watched in horror as his disciplinary fleet fell into chaos. "This is impossible. They're just humans. Primitive humans." The battle lasted less than an hour. When it ended, 30 Imperial ships were destroyed, 15 were heavily damaged, and only 5 managed to escape. The human fleet had lost just 12 small vessels, with minimal casualties thanks to their advanced escape systems. Miller stood before the Global Defense Council, delivering his report. The Empire will be back, and in much greater numbers. But we've proven what we claimed. They don't understand how we fight. Explain, the council chairman requested. The Empire fights with brute force, overwhelming their enemies with superior numbers and technology. But humans, Miller paused, bringing up the battle footage. We fight smart. We adapt. Every weapon we use today was designed specifically to counter Imperial technology, based on what we learned from studying their scout ships. In deep space, the surviving Imperial ships limped toward their nearest base. Rex stood in his damaged bridge, his pride shattered along with his fleet. "Send word to the Imperial capital," he ordered. Tell them we need the main battle fleet. All of it." His communications officer looked up nervously. "Sir, should we mention that the humans?" "Tell them everything." Rex interrupted. "They need to know what we're facing. These humans, they're not like the others. They fight like they've been preparing for this their entire existence." Back on Earth, Miller watched the Imperial ships retreat through his office window. Lieutenant Wilson stood at his side. "They'll be back," Wilson said quietly. Miller nodded. "Yes, they will. And next time, we'll show them why we tried to warn them to run." Above Mars, the debris of Imperial ships drifted silently, a testament to humanity's first victory against the galaxy's greatest power. But everyone knew, this was just the beginning. 2 weeks after the Battle of Mars, Earth's long-range sensors detected a massive disturbance in space. The Imperial main battle fleet had arrived, over 500 warships strong, led by the Empire's most advanced dreadnoughts. Commander Robert Stone stood on the bridge of the EDF Phoenix, Earth's newest battleship. "They brought everything they had," he commented, studying the tactical display. "Almost everything." Admiral Miller's voice came through the command channel. "They still have their home fleet guarding their core worlds. Stone, you know what to do." The Imperial fleet spread out in an attack formation that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Their new commander, Grand Marshal Lane, had replaced the disgraced Rex. He stood on his command bridge, watching Earth grow larger on his view screen. "No more games," Lane announced to his fleet. "Full attack pattern. Show these humans what real warfare looks like." The Imperial fleet launched their assault, filling space with energy weapons and plasma torpedoes. But Earth was ready. The planetary defense shield, hidden until now, activated. A shimmering barrier of quantum-enhanced energy absorbed the first wave of attacks. "All units, execute Operation Thunderclap," Stone ordered. Earth's defense fleet emerged from hiding spots throughout the solar system. But instead of engaging directly, they performed a series of coordinated jumps, appearing and disappearing around the Imperial fleet. "What are they doing?" Lane demanded as his ship's targeting systems failed to lock on to the rapidly moving human vessels. The answer came in the form of hundreds of small objects left behind by each jump. Quantum resonance bombs, a human invention that turned the Empire's own shield frequency against them. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. Stone counted down. The bombs exploded simultaneously. Imperial shields didn't just fail, they collapsed inward, causing massive damage to their own ships. 60 Imperial vessels were destroyed in the first minute. Lane's face showed shock for the first time. "Impossible. Our shields are the most advanced in the galaxy." "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the humans, they're not just fighting us. They're predicting our every move." He was right. The human fleet moved like they knew exactly what the Empire would do before they did it. Years of studying Imperial tactics through their scout ships had given Earth's forces a deep understanding of their enemy strategies. Stone's voice echoed across the battlefield. "All wings, begin Phase 2. Earth's ships engaged in close combat, using maneuvers that defied conventional space warfare tactics. They flew through their own explosions, used debris as shields, and executed complex attack patterns that looked like chaos, but were precisely choreographed." "How?" Lane demanded as another dreadnought exploded. How are they doing this? The answer was simple but terrible for the Empire to comprehend. Humans had spent their entire history preparing for this moment, even before they knew it would come. Every war game, every military exercise, every tactical simulation had considered the possibility of fighting a superior alien force. Miller's voice cut through all channels. This is your final warning. Retreat now, or we will be forced to demonstrate our full capabilities. Lane laughed despite his losses. You dare. We still outnumber you 4-1. Numbers, Miller replied calmly, aren't everything. Commander Stone, you have permission to use the Phoenix Protocol. Stone nodded grimly. All ships, clear the zone. Initiating Phoenix Protocol. The human fleet suddenly pulled back. Lane smiled, thinking they were retreating. Then his sensors detected something impossible. A quantum field was forming around his entire fleet. What is this? Lane demanded. The Phoenix Protocol was humanity's ultimate defensive weapon, a massive quantum field that could disrupt any energy system within its range. As the field activated, Imperial ships began losing power. Their advanced technology, so dependent on complex energy systems, turned against them. Full retreat, Lane ordered, but it was too late. Without power, his ships were sitting targets for Earth's conventional weapons. The battle ended with over half the Imperial fleet destroyed or captured. Lane's command ship barely escaped, limping back toward Imperial space. Stone watched them retreat from the Phoenix's bridge. They'll be back again, won't they? Miller's response was firm. Yes, but not for a while. They need to reevaluate everything they thought they knew about warfare and about humanity. The stars shone silently on the battlefield, where the debris of Imperial ships drifted as a testament to humanity's determination. The Empire had escalated the war, but they were learning a costly lesson. Humans didn't just fight wars, they'd mastered them. The Imperial capital was in chaos. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire faced a force it couldn't simply overwhelm. The Imperial Council gathered in their grand chamber, their usual confidence replaced by genuine concern. Grand Marshal Lane stood before them, his uniform still bearing scorch marks from the battle. The humans must be contained. We propose a full blockade of their solar system. The Emperor himself spoke, his voice echoing through the chamber. Agreed. Deploy the reserve fleets, every ship we have. Surround their system. Let them starve in isolation. 3 days later, over 2,000 Imperial ships formed a massive blockade around Earth's solar system. They created a sphere of warships, their most powerful weapons pointed inward. No ship could enter or leave without facing overwhelming firepower. On Earth, Admiral Miller stood in the Global Command Center, watching the blockade form. Lieutenant Wilson worked at his console, analyzing the Imperial formation. They've committed almost their entire fleet, Wilson reported. 90% of their ships are here. Miller allowed himself a small smile. Exactly as we predicted. Exactly as we wanted. He pressed a button on his command console. Commander Stone, are you ready? Stone's voice came through clearly. The FTL drives are ready, sir. They have no idea what's coming. What the Empire couldn't know, was that humans had secretly developed their own unique form of faster-than-light travel. While Imperial ships used standard hyperspace lanes, human vessels could jump through folds in spacetime itself. All ships, execute Operation Starburst, Miller ordered. Across the solar system, hidden human fleets powered up their FTL drives. The Empire's blockade was impressive, but they were looking in the wrong direction. Inward, not outward. Stone led the first wave. His ship, along with 50 others, simply vanished from Earth's orbit. They reappeared simultaneously at 50 different Imperial worlds, bypassing the blockade completely. In the Imperial capital, alarms blared. The Emperor watched in disbelief as reports flooded in from across his empire. Impossible, he shouted. How did they get past the blockade? The answer came in the form of coordinated strikes on Imperial shipyards, weapons facilities, and command centers. The humans weren't just escaping the blockade. They were attacking the heart of the Empire itself. Lane watched helplessly as his careful blockade became meaningless. They can jump anywhere, without using hyperspace lanes. Miller's voice broadcast across all Imperial frequencies. We tried to warn you. We tried to prevent this. Your blockade isn't containing us. It's just tying up your ships while we strike your core worlds. The Emperor himself responded, his voice shaking with rage. You dare attack the Empire directly? No, Miller replied calmly. We're showing you why we warned you to run. Commander Stone, execute Phase 2. Suddenly, human ships appeared in every major Imperial system. They didn't attack population centers or civilian targets. Instead, they struck with surgical precision, destroying military installations and command structures. The Imperial blockade began to break apart as ships rushed to defend their home systems. But they were too late. The humans were already there, using their superior mobility to strike and vanish before the Imperial ships could respond. In Earth's command center, Wilson monitored the reports coming in. Sir, 30 Imperial worlds have surrendered. Their defense forces are standing down. Miller nodded. They're finally beginning to understand. Send the message to all Imperial worlds. The message was simple. The Empire's military strength was based on controlling hyperspace lanes. We don't need them. Surrender now, and we guarantee your autonomy under a new Galactic Council. Resist, and we'll dismantle your military capabilities piece by piece. The Emperor watched his mighty empire crumbling. The blockade of Earth, meant to be a show of imperial power, had become a trap of their own making. Their ships were tied up in a useless formation, while humans struck at will across the galaxy. Lane's voice came through on the emergency channel. Your Majesty, I recommend we consider their terms. But the Emperor wasn't ready to admit defeat. No, we are the Empire. We do not surrender to primitives. Miller heard the Emperor's response and shook his head sadly. They still don't understand. Commander Stone, prepare for Phase 3. Let's show them why every human wargame for the past century ended with us winning. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as humanity prepared to demonstrate the full extent of their military capabilities. The Empire was about to learn why humans had tried so hard to avoid this war. Operation Thunderstrike began at exactly midnight UTC. Commander Stone stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, watching as 500 human ships emerged from fold space simultaneously. They appeared above every major Imperial military installation across 20 core worlds. All ships, execute primary attack pattern, Stone ordered. Show them everything. The Empire had never seen anything like it. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, their quantum weapons bypassing Imperial defenses like they weren't even there. Decades of preparing for alien invasion had led to this moment. In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor watched in horror as reports flooded in. How? How are they doing this? Admiral Miller's voice broadcast across all Imperial channels. We studied your technology for months. Every scout ship you sent taught us more about your weaknesses. Now let us show you why we warned you to run. The human attack wasn't just about destroying military targets. Each strike was calculated, precise, and designed to demonstrate something specific about human warfare. Stone's voice cut through the chaos. Phase 1 complete. Beginning Phase 2. Suddenly, the human ships split into smaller groups. Each group used different tactics, different weapons, different strategies. The Empire couldn't adapt because they never faced the same attack twice. Sir, Wilson reported from Earth Command, Imperial forces are falling back on all fronts. Their command structure is breaking down. Miller nodded grimly. They're learning what every human commander knows. No battle plan survives contact with the enemy. But we've spent centuries learning to adapt. They haven't. On Imperial worlds, military bases fell one after another. The humans didn't target civilians or infrastructure. They simply dismantled the Empire's ability to make war. Lane, watching from his command ship, finally understood. They're not just fighting us. They're teaching us a lesson. He was right. Each human attack demonstrated a different aspect of warfare that humanity had mastered through their long history of conflict. Guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, strategic deception, all executed with devastating precision. Your Majesty, Lane reported to the Emperor, they're not just winning. They're showing us every mistake we made in underestimating them. The Emperor watched as another defensive line collapsed. Send them our history. Show them our greatest victories. Show them why we rule the galaxy. Miller received the Imperial historical records and displayed them for his command staff. The Empire's proudest battles, their greatest conquests, their most brilliant strategies, all of them now seemed simple, almost primitive compared to human warfare. Send them our history in return, Miller ordered. All of it. Every war, every battle, every conflict. Let them understand why we tried to warn them. The Empire's leadership watched in stunned silence as humanity's military history played across their screens. The strategies, the adaptations, the sheer variety of warfare that humans had developed while fighting themselves. It was beyond anything the Empire had seen in 10,000 years of galactic rule. Stone's voice came through again. Sir, we're detecting mass surrenders across Imperial space. Their forces are laying down arms. The Emperor stood in his palace, watching as his military strength crumbled. How? We ruled the galaxy. We were invincible. No, Miller's voice responded. You were predictable. Humans learned to be unpredictable because we had to. Every war we fought taught us something new. Every battle made us stronger. The final phase of Operation Thunderstrike began. Human ships appeared in formation above the Imperial capital itself, not to attack, but to demonstrate that they could. Look at your screens, Miller broadcast. That's just one small part of our fleet. We have ships positioned above every Imperial world. We could end this right now. The Emperor watched as human vessels hung silently above his palace. Their weapons weren't even powered. They didn't need to be. The message was clear. Lane's voice cut through the silence. Your Majesty, I think it's time we listen to their warning. In Earth's command center, Wilson turned to Miller. Sir, incoming transmission from the Imperial Palace. They're requesting terms. Miller looked at the tactical display, showing human forces across Imperial space. They had achieved total victory without a single civilian casualty, using precision and skill instead of brute force. Send word to all commands, Miller ordered. Operation Thunderstrike is complete. Now we'll show them something else humans learned through war. What's that, sir? How to make a lasting peace. In the Grand Hall of the Imperial Palace, Admiral Miller stood before the assembled leaders of the galaxy. The Emperor sat on his throne, no longer radiating supreme confidence, but showing a new respect for the humans before him. We are here to discuss peace, Miller began. Not just any peace, but one that will ensure this never happens again. The Emperor leaned forward. You have demonstrated your power. Are you here to demand our surrender? Miller shook his head. No, we're here to offer something better, a true partnership. Commander Stone stood beside Miller, displaying holographic images of Earth's history, not of wars this time, but of peace treaties, alliances, and cooperative achievements. You see, Miller continued, humans didn't just master war. We also learned how to end them properly. History taught us that crushing your enemies completely only leads to future conflicts. The Imperial Council watched in silence as Miller presented Earth's proposal. It wasn't a demand for surrender or submission. Instead, it was a plan for a new galactic order. We propose a galactic council, Miller explained. Equal representation for all worlds, including Earth. Shared technology, shared defense, shared prosperity. Lane, who had seen humanity's power firsthand, spoke up. You could demand anything. Why offer us equality? Miller smiled. Because that's another lesson we learned from our history. The strongest peace comes from mutual respect, not from domination. The Emperor studied the proposal carefully. The terms were surprisingly generous. Earth wasn't demanding reparations or territory. They weren't even asking for the Empire to disarm completely, just to join a cooperative defense force. This is unexpected, the Emperor admitted. After showing such power in war, you show even more wisdom in peace. Wilson, who had joined the delegation, activated another holographic display. It showed Earth's vision for the future: joint human-imperial missions, shared scientific research, combined space exploration. "We don't want to rule the galaxy," Miller explained. "We want to help make it better. Our history taught us that the strongest alliances come from choice, not force." The Imperial Council members looked at each other, centuries of tradition warring with new realities. They had never considered sharing power, but they had also never faced a species like humanity before. Stone stepped forward. "Your Majesty, remember how we warned you before this started? That wasn't a threat. It was an attempt to prevent unnecessary conflict. This is the same. We're offering a way forward that benefits everyone." The Emperor stood, his decision made. "You have shown us something remarkable. Not just your power in war, but your wisdom in victory. We accept your proposal." The treaty was signed that day. The Galactic Empire became the Galactic Alliance, with Earth joining as an equal partner. Human innovation would be shared, imperial technology would be exchanged, and a new era would begin. As the ceremony concluded, an imperial historian approached Miller. "Admiral, I must know, why did you try so hard to warn us? Why not simply demonstrate your power from the beginning?" Miller's response was thoughtful. "Because every human war taught us the same lesson. The best victory is the one you don't have to fight for. We tried to help you understand without bloodshed. When that failed, we tried to win with minimal loss of life." The historian nodded, making notes. "And now, what lessons should we record from this?" "Record this," Miller said. "The species that tried to warn you became the species that helped rebuild. That's humanity's true strength. We learn from every conflict, even ones we try to avoid." Back on Earth, Miller stood with Stone and Wilson, watching the sun set on a new era. "Do you think it will last?" Wilson asked. Miller looked at the sky, where Imperial and human ships now patrolled together. "It will, because we didn't just show them how to lose. We showed them how to build something better." Stone nodded. "From enemies to allies in one conflict. That might be our greatest victory yet." As night fell on Earth, ships from across the galaxy moved peacefully through space. The empire that had never lost a war had found something better than victory. They had found a true partner in the species that had tried to warn them. In the Imperial archives, a new entry was made. "The humans who warned us to run became the friends who taught us to stand together." Perhaps that was their plan all along. The galaxy had changed forever, not just through the force of human arms, but through the wisdom that came from thousands of years of learning the true meaning of both war and peace.